Partsbreakers.com, Jeeps Unlimited, located here in Grand Junction, Colorado. This is a pre-dismantle video I'm doing for a customer, just to kind of see. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's sold, just means we have an interested party on it. So in a lot of times, tubs, frames, they sell before we have a chance to list them. So if you're on our site and you're not seeing tubs or frames or something you're looking for specifically, doesn't mean we don't have it. We have 7 acres of Jeep parts out here. And a lot of these parts, as you can imagine, are so sought after, they sell before we even have time to list them. So initially I had graded this as a B. I haven't even walked around this as we've washed it yet. I will either, it'll either stick with that, which is gonna be in the $2,500 range. Our grade Bs, our As are 3,000-ish. That goes up a little bit in the winter time. Project season, this is usually a little cheaper time to buy a tub. And then our C grade, which is our lower grade tubs, they're going to have more body work. If there's going to be rust, still minimal, yada yada yada. Okay, and those are going to be anywhere from, those can range greatly, but like 1,000 to 2,000 is what you're looking at for one of those kind of tubs. So we move them all. Everybody has a different budget and everybody has a different project they're using them for, so just keep that in mind. Without further ado, I'll go into this tub. And basically, one thing to note about my videos is when it specifically comes to a product video, I'm not going to point out the good. The good is, in my opinion, kind of the clear to see. It's the bad. So if I see something, whether it need a little bit of work, minor work, or major work, you're gonna get a finger pointed to it. And again, preliminary, meaning that we're gonna do the best we can. If something's hidden beyond what we, if we see an area that might be problematic, and we illustrate that in this video, then the price is going to be according to that being possibly a problem. If we get it down and there was something hidden that we didn't see, then we'll either adjust the price down further. This is all with a buyer's choice, or find a different tub if we have an option for that, put the deposit towards that. And if we don't have any option, then it is a refund for the deposit. And then of course, if it comes out to be better than we were thinking, that's kind of where you save the money at. And that's part of the reason people usually do these pre-dismantle ones versus after, because sometimes they look like, oh, this could be a problem, and then we pull everything and it actually is just a little surface or not as major of a damage as we thought. So okay, all right, so I'm seeing right here in the corner, I'm going to start the driver's side corner, it's got a decent sized ding in it. Not massive, but definitely something to look at. I didn't see that one before. At least I don't think I did. So hopefully that wasn't something we did. I'll have to watch because I did have an initial video. So that corner, not terrible bad, but I do feel it inside. You can get your hand wrapped up in here, so there is some access to pull that. But just something, whether you're doing the work or you're having body work done to it, that's something they're going to have to look at. Minor, but still something. Torque pocket, this is going to be an area that if this breaks, this is common to break these even on cleaner tubs, but something that I kind of suspect on this one, potentially, just because there is the rust in this tub that I've seen so far is right here, and then the other side is matching, and I don't see this a lot, but they can trap moisture there, and this one was packed with dirt. So it was a Colorado tub, which typically are rust free, but if they don't get washed very often, and as this tub likely was not washed all that often, it's a potential. So matter of fact, I'll even, before I get with the customer, I will have Jake pop these and see if they'll break free. If they do, then we're good, and just a little bit of cleanup of the surface there, and you're probably good to go. Obviously this guy here is that area I showed in the beginning. That's about the size of a $50, and maybe a little bit bigger on this guy, size of my palm here. I'm heading to the bank after this, Steve. I'm going to the bank. I didn't even make it this weekend. It's been crazy, but just finishing up a video and I'll be right with you. Okay, so that same here there, up in this corner, that looks all nice and clean. A little bit of mud still in there that we missed, but that looks good. The edges, that's always going to be a little bit of rock chips come up from these tires. Seams here, looks like I got a wasp somewhere. Those are looking pretty good. A lot of times they start rusting up pretty good through here, and the wheel wells, these are all nice and clean. And then a little bit of surface through this area. This is another area that I always mention because it's where the roll bar mounts, and we won't really know till we pull this roll bar how this becomes. This is an area that I typically will adjust down for if they do break or something's going to have to be done more here, because it's an area that I can only assume it's really hard to tell roll bar where these roll bars mount on all tubs, TJs, YJs, and CJs. So that one will be determined when it gets pulled. But again, even if we have to extract the bolts or we knock the price down and you guys do it, not a big deal. So other area I always like to point out are these torque pockets. Again, I'm gonna have Jake at least pull these before we wrap up here and see. Hopefully these all break loose. If they do, then we're good to go on those guys, because these torque pockets can be a little bit more of a bugger to do. They're not too bad on a YJ, but they're definitely something I don't usually mess with or tell people to mess with on TJs. So, and then you got your front one here, and then that wraps up that side. And then of course you have your passenger side, and then all this side looks pretty clean, straight, cowl looks good, whatnot. Obviously the front's not pertaining to this particular customer, so we won't even show that. And then going to this side here, again, driver side, pretty straight throughout. The rocker looks good. That's that area, right? And it's a little hard to see, but kind of see a little bit of separation there. So definitely going to need a little bit of work on that rear wheel well. Still very minor, and for the bumps and bruises for a 30-year-old plus Jeep, this is actually pretty clean. These two here, bizarre. I have no idea what they had here. They might have had a step. A lot of people put a step here, so when they have the doors off, they can stick their foot out and have an area their foot can get caught on something. No, I know they're fun, but that might have been what it is. It's hard to say. There's nothing mounted on the inside, and maybe they just put those there to cover the holes up from those. It's hard to say. So there's definitely two holes there, but around it, everything looks pretty good. It got a little bit of a dimple here around that one, but otherwise that's clean. And then of course we have this side here. So again, these all have them pull. This all looks nice and clean under here. Let's see if I can get up under here. Okay, this one here, this one is starting to crack a little bit right there. So this is all going to be determined if these pop freely. If they do, we're good to go. If they don't, then there's going to be a little bit of work with this torque pocket here. And then of course that one there, again, we'll have them pull that and check it out and see. This guy here is more than likely where the step is mounted. There was an outside step on these, and this is a factory option on this particular tub. Not all of them got them, but this one did. And they've actually removed the reinforcement bracket that goes here, and that's actually what goes up into this area. So that's probably what caused that happen. There's no reinforcement on these. These are actually not even really good to use the way they are. That or somebody tried to put this on a Jeep that didn't have it. That's a possibility as well, because those bolts there aren't factory. But again, for a CJ, doesn't really matter on that. So that all looks pretty good. I mean, a little banged up here, but nothing major. And then of course your wheel well here, and then of course this area, again, the roll bar where it mounts. And it's because there's a little bit there, it's not soft, but it's definitely starting to see a little bit of wear and cracking in that area where that roll bar. My guess is this roll bar is probably going to fight us, so I'll go ahead and adjust the price down a little bit on this, and then if it comes out, you know, perfect, then you'll save a little more money on that. And then that seam along that wheel well, that looks great. Some screws coming from the top up there, not factory. Definitely not what I would have done, but somebody probably mounted something and just didn't care what they were putting in and where they were putting it in. So little things. And then of course the tunnel, this is an area we'll see what we can see, but this usually area is not susceptible to rust, at least not here. And then up in this area, obviously can't see above that, but again, these aren't areas that typically rust out on these guys. Above the gas tank skid is not an area that does. The frames will, but the tubs usually are pretty solid up here. These have a liner on them from the factory, so they're pretty robust on the bottom sides of these guys. And then one other area, which I don't know if we can even see it here, which is the floorboards. And actually the floorboards are right here, and they look really clean, at least on this side. So I imagine they're gonna be good going from that way. And then also, let's see. Yeah, that one looks great there too. So let me lower it. We've already done the top once, but I'll get a little bit better of a video for the top to see it. So still a B grade, at least for now. Get it down here. All right, so device is hot. This might come out blurry. Sometimes this thing gets hot. Seats have sold out of this guy. Some of this interior parts, but again, for the, let's see if I can get that door unlocked. Maybe it was opening yesterday. Yeah, great. Looks like my latch broke on the door. Oh, there we go. Just stuck a little bit. Okay. So other than a nice vacuum, it needs badly. See if we can pull some of this back. They got insulation in it. That's actually kind of nice. Probably why the floors are nice in this guy. They put some sound dampening stuff in it. This will come out. It'll pull out when we wash it. But I want to pull it back. Let's see. Yeah, floors are really nice. That's probably one of the cleaner floors I've ever seen on a YJ. So nice thick padding there and aluminum both sides. No moisture was able to get down in there. This area here, behind the roll bar, or behind the seat, I should say. These are the areas I was pointing to that are going to be hard to see. This actually looks great through here. The roll bar itself is actually great. So these actually might pull just fine. Normally, if they're rotten, it starts at these roll bar feet. I think we're going to be good there, at least on this side. Let's go check out that other side. That side was a little bit more, looked a little bit more possible as something could be going on. I forgot these sides are fixed, so I'll put the phone down and slide this guy up here. And you don't have weight in these seats. They don't like to slide very easily. All right, that's gonna be as good as it gets. I have so much mud on me right now, I don't want to add to it. So, all right, so behind our, now we're down to the roll bar again here. This looks good, nice smooth paint. All right, that's actually better than I thought it would be. So there might be a little bit when we pull these. Hopefully these don't break off. But the floor is good. There's no rust in any of this actually. So there might be a little bit behind that pad, but it's actually better than I thought. So we'll still assume there is and knock it down a little bit just in case, but that way we don't have to adjust it later. All right, let's see if we can pull this guy out maybe. All right, so that floor looks excellent too. As it starts to get out towards the edge here, it's still clean. You can see the paint there, original, okay? There's those, I'm trying to show the bolts. And there's maybe a little surface here to touch up, but nothing. Those bolts are coming through. No damage, no big dents or anything there. That all looks really clean. So, all right. One last thing I kind of wanted to mention, because I mentioned this when I talked to the customer, and if you're looking for a YJ potential tub as a replacement for your CJ7 as they are, let me wipe this lens off. This is something I just seen recently and pretty cool to do. There's a seam here, and as a factory, the tub comes together. They don't come separate. People will call and ask just for these pieces, and Jeep never made it to where you could replace just that. Although it does appear that way, and I think it does it to kind of follow the fender line. But nonetheless, even though they didn't make it this way, what I've seen guys do with CJ conversions is if there's this good on theirs, and a lot of times they are, and you'll need to check between your windshield frame to see if yours is even a viable candidate. But you can actually separate these two. They're spot weld together, and then you or a body shop can replace that top cowl. Now, that's not super important unless you're trying to stick with all original CJ, and if you are, then you'll want to stick with the CJ ductwork. And if you notice on a YJ, the ducting, your heat ducting, comes up through your dash here, and on a CJ it actually comes up through your windshield frame. It actually ducts through the windshield frame, and because of that, the venting in the center is slightly different. So what people used to do is just cut them and widen them out and adapt them. But after I seen that CJ, it was so trick looking at guy on the East Coast that was doing these commonly, that I thought, man, this is actually probably something I should at least pass on. So that's what I was talking about with that cowl being replaced there. So everything else, top of the cowl, that looks beautiful. Obviously this is an area that we need to check ourselves. This doesn't look acceptable at all. This frame is actually what I probably consider a grade A windshield frame. Normally they start spotting up, bleeding through, rust up through here. And if they do that, usually you can tell this area here is gonna be bad. But until we fold that down and clean that up, it's hard to say. So obviously that's an area that could be, and if it is, if it's too bad, we just cancel it out. If it's something usable, then you know, we can knock a little bit off. But I don't think on this one you have anything to worry about with that. Just something I like to show. The belt rails are usually solid. You don't have to worry about those typically. So just to recap on it, bottom side looks good. Could be a little bit on the back side of the pads on the roll bars, but I don't think those are actually going to be as bad as I thought, just initial, just because, you know, the tires spin up stuff, and the liners on these were a little worn out. There's plastic liners that go up in there so to protect that, but they get a little worn out, they get a little bit more, they trap a little bit. Those are a little bit more discolored, but on the inside, like we've shown, those look good. The damage here, which is probably more of this whole side, just needs